Did you know that people who describe themselves as happy tend to have fewer health issues, a lower risk of anxiety and depression, fewer money problems, and that they generally live longer? Research from the longest running study on happiness, the Harvard Study on Adult Development, has shown that most people can increase their level of happiness if they want to. The study suggests that on average, 50% of people's general level of happiness is determined by their genetics. However, 40% is under people's control, and that the remaining 10% depends on their circumstances. This implies that even if you don't consider yourself happy, you have the power to change this, according to the director of this Harvard study. Hi, I'm Diane from Trilogy Life Coaching, and today I want to talk you through my 10 top strategies that will help you to understand how you can begin to take some simple steps to increase your happiness and your overall well-being. So let's dive right in. Of course, it's a challenge for any of us to constantly remain upbeat. Happiness, like any aspect of wellness, is a constant work in progress. But no matter your current state of happiness, there are ways to boost your outlook and give your mental and physical health a lift. Here are some great strategies that I'd encourage you to try, especially if you recognise that your mood is low or you're just feeling bleh as we begin to come out of the restrictions from this very long pandemic that has affected us all in very different ways. So my first strategy is that you try and stay connected to other people. The Harvard study found that a strong link between happiness and close relationships with family and friends is important. And one result from the Harvard study shows that personal connection creates emotional stimulation, which is an automatic mood booster, while isolation is a mood buster. How many of us made the effort during the pandemic to stay connected via video calling and Zoom, despite the technical challenges this may have created for some of us? It's very important to maintain these connections in person now that we're able to. So, number 2 strategy is to raise your hand and volunteer. Volunteering provides a sense of purpose and it improves your mood. A 2016 British Medical Journal Open study found that the effect of this was especially strong in older adults. Volunteering can take up as much or as little of your time that you have available. There are so many organisations that need our help. For example, you could check out your local hospice, the food bank, a school or a youth club. And there are often community groups that are local that will organise park cleanups and litter picking in your area. Check out your options and choose something that you know you will really enjoy. I enjoy cooking, so during the pandemic I signed up to cook meals for families where there was a newborn baby or for families where someone had just had major surgery. And my plan is to continue with this as I enjoyed both the cooking and the connection with the people I was serving. And strategy number 3 is to perform regular acts of kindness. So if you could pick a day and focus on performing acts of kindness towards others that you wouldn't maybe otherwise do. It can take a bit of planning in advance, but it would be so worth it. The planning in itself and the deliberate intention to do good for others can also have important effect on your own well-being. You could offer to treat a friend to coffee and cake, or you could babysit for a busy family so that mum and dad could go out, or for a single mum who needs a bit of relief for an hour or so. You could also send a small gift in the post to let someone know that you're thinking of them. Whilst in lockdown, a friend I have known for 60 years, but generally have minimal contact with, called me several times to find out how I was doing. This simple act made me feel loved and cared for, and I'm sure that we can all think of one person who would appreciate a call from us. Number 4 is to find your inner child. When you're older, you have a chance to revisit the activities that gave you joy as a child or a young adult. What made you happy when you were younger? Pick up those hobbies, games, sports, or other interests from your youth. I love this one because it reminds me of the joy I experienced in lockdown when my daughter told me about the online ballet class that her 2-year-old was joining in with. She also told me that there were ballet classes for grandparents and suggested I take a look. The first one I joined was wonderful as it brought back my childhood years when I attended ballet classes that were the highlight of my week. Such happy memories at a time when life was indeed pretty tough. And strategy number 5 is to buy more time. Now, a 2017 study suggested that people who spend money on time-saving purchases, such as paying for a cleaner rather than constantly buying material goods, have greater life satisfaction as their time is then freed up to spend building relationships rather than feeling drowned by tasks that just never seem to end. Interestingly, the effect of doing this was similar no matter a person's income. So if you've been thinking about it, then take the plunge and organise it because you'll be so glad that you did. Strategy number 6 is about investing in experiences. Another way money may buy happiness is through life experiences. It doesn't have to be a big ticket adventure either. For instance, opt for a cup of coffee with a friend, go to a matinee at the theatre, or you could go to a free exhibition, a museum, an art gallery. You could go and feed the ducks in the park, go wild water swimming, and these experiences can have a lasting impact on your health and well-being. We've recently had our 3 grandchildren to stay, and in turn we took them to feed hundreds of fish that swim about in a large pond at our local garden centre. They loved it as the fish jumped and splashed as we fed them. It was a very simple and inexpensive happy memory that they now can't stop talking about. According to some studies, people who create experiences have longer-term life satisfaction as they create those happy memories together. In comparison, buying material objects often provides only a temporary happiness. And strategy number 7 is to hang out with happy people. Yet, happiness can be contagious. One study found that happiness can spread through our social networks. Your upbeat feeling can trigger a chain reaction whereby your contacts become happier being around you, and they in turn help their contacts to be more joyful, and so on. Interestingly, researchers also found that sadness doesn't spread as robustly as happiness. And number 8 is to find more green spaces to use. A study published online in 2021 by the EPJ Data Science looked at urban green spaces and their effect on citizens in 90 cities worldwide. It found that people's happiness correlated with their area's amount of urban green space, such as parks and gardens and riversides, regardless of the country's economic state. So creating your own green space can have a similar effect, because other research has shown that gardening at home improves emotional well-being in much the same way that activities like cycling and walking do. And during lockdown, I loved finding local green spaces that I'd never visited before. And now I've explored these spaces, I shall continue to use them and take my grandchildren with me. And the 9th strategy is to break up your routines. People feel happier when they have more variety in their daily routines, according to a study published online by Nature Neuroscience. Even small changes can have a big impact. And the results found that by altering your regular pattern, such as by trying a new exercise program every few weeks, or listening to podcasts on some days and music on other days, or just taking a different route to the grocery store or walking around the park in a different direction, adds interest to your life. Why don't you think about one thing you could do this week to change up your routine? And finally, strategy number 10 is about counting your blessings. I'm sure this is something we've all heard over and over again during the course of the pandemic. Set aside time to write down all the things you are grateful for. It could be something you usually take for granted, like the roof over your head, your car, a supportive family, or a green space. Or it could be something simple like receiving a heartfelt compliment, or a book you've enjoyed, or today's good weather, or great tasting meal that you had yesterday. You may, of course, prefer just to sit and think about what you're grateful for once each day. I try to do this in the morning as I sip my first cup of tea. I say to myself, what 3 things am I grateful for today? And it lifts my spirit and enables me to start my day on a positive note too. So my challenge to you this week, firstly, do you want to improve your happiness? And secondly, if your answer is yes, then choose 2 or 3 things from my top 10 strategies to improve your happiness and try to implement them in the next couple of weeks. And thirdly, leave a comment to let me know which strategies you chose and how you implemented them. I'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to hear more from me on how to improve your health and well-being, click on the link on your screen right now. Wishing you all more health, wealth and happiness in the coming week.